Hi, and welcome to Where Are They Now? The new show and episode of where we talk to former Chelmsford High alumni and where they are now. I am Heather Lindstedt, your host, class of '85, and I am at Gibbet Hill today with executive chef Brendan Pelly of the class of '97, correct?
Yeah.
Welcome, and thank you for being on our show today.
Thanks for having me.
It's going to be, 20-odd years since you graduated, but tell us about the influence that Chelmsford High School had on just getting you more towards your career, or how did it impact you?
When I was in high school, I had no idea I wanted to be a chef.
Okay.
So general studies didn't hurt, but I really had no idea this is what I wanted to do. I would say that I spent a lot of time in the art room. I was interested in the arts. It's actually what I ended up studying for a little while in college after.
Yeah.
But once I started working in restaurants and I fell in love with the culinary arts, that was, where I started to find the direction of my career.
Right.
But just having a good base of education, has helped me along. So.
Yeah. We all talk about it when we went to the high school, though, and I'm also from the Emerson House, which seems to, it was such a big thing. Do you remember, the little chit-chat in the cafeterias and everywhere, what house you were in and who your dean was? I mean, it's kind of a silly thing, but have you ever talked to anybody else about that have gone to other schools and you're like, didn't you have a house and those kind of things? It's kind of silly, isn't it?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I'm friends with a lot of people from my class on Facebook, so we chat about it every once in a while. But yeah, so I had Dean Doherty in Emerson House. He was a good guy. He was good to me.
Yeah. Now, you said you were in the arts, so did you have Mr. Hoover? Is that who was head of the art department, or different teachers or anything?
I think so.
Yeah.
And then, I don't even remember all their names.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a couple other art teachers that were great, but I don't remember names.
It just seems like
it's been 20 years.
Yeah, I know. The art department, though, has had some great alumni that have gone on to work in the art industry and those kind of things. So
they have a lot of professional artists who are doing some really great stuff.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So fast forward, a few more years after graduating from high school, you decided to give the college go, right? And you were at Merrimack?
I did liberal arts at Middlesex for a little while because, like I said, I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then I transferred over to UMass Lowell in the fine arts program. I was studying photography.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I was working in restaurants.
Okay.
And sometime along, maybe like sophomore, junior year, or, second or third year into UMass Lowell, I got a job in a fine dining restaurant.
Okay.
And that was really life-changing. I completely fell in love with it, and just kind of, my life did like a 180. And then I just kind of immersed myself in the restaurant world. Yeah.
Now, you've been known as a Greek chef, but how did this go with your parents? And, I mean, is there anybody else in your family that's gone into dining and food industry, or?
So I think a couple generations ago, my great-grandfather on my mom's side owned a little luncheon place in Lowell called Reynolds Lunch.
Okay.
So there was that connection, and no other chefs in the family, but my mom was a really great home cook.
Okay.
My mom is Irish. She married a Greek.
Okay.
My papu passed down all the Greek recipes to my mom, and then she passed them on to me. So a couple of years ago, I did a Greek pop-up restaurant in Boston, and I just kind of wanted to explore my Greek heritage a little bit, and I started doing some modern Greek cuisine.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're classically trained French, right? So how does that go for, I mean, how do you just decide that you want to go to the culinary school or get that kind of training? Like you're working in a restaurant. How does that that decision come about?
I mean, it was, for me, it really did just click like that. I just realized that I loved it.
Yeah.
The energy of being in a busy restaurant kitchen. I mean, everyone loves food, but I loved working with my hands. I loved being creative. I loved good food. I loved the energy. I loved the buzz.
Yeah.
So it took a little while to figure out the right path, but
Okay.
what I tell young cooks now is that, and this is what I did, is really you find the best chefs in the best restaurants possible, and you just get a job there, and you work. And you put your head down and you work, because it's a craft.
Yeah.
There is a lot of education involved with it, and if you're able to get a culinary education, then by all means enroll in a really good culinary school. I think in culinary 2 years is usually sufficient to get the book smarts, and then you do have to put in the time. You have to work in the best restaurants that you can. So once I did that and I got a good solid foundation, I worked for probably like 3 to 5 James Beard award-winning chefs in a few different restaurants, and then I could start to kind of develop my own cuisine, bring a little personality to it.
Yeah.
But if I didn't have those foundations, it would just be a mess.
So now who do you practice on? I mean, do you go home to your parents? I mean, you know, friends? I mean, Chelmsford alum? I mean, when you have an idea of what you're doing, or is it just you sampling and trying different things? I mean, how does like new things come to you?
I mean, part of my job is that one of the fun parts is that I just get to play with food.
Yeah.
So we play with food and we don't let our mistakes leave the kitchen.
Okay.
Ideally.
Okay. Yeah.
we don't want to experiment on the general dining public.
Correct. Right.
My wife has had to deal with some experiments gone wrong at home.
Okay.
I'd say that she's a better cook at home, I swear. She's a really good cook. She's a nurse.
Okay.
But she's a really great cook.
Yeah.
And I don't know, home cooking I stink, but in the restaurant I do all right. Because we get to refine our dishes, we get to practice. You know, everything is rehearsed in restaurants. It's like putting on a show every night. So, yeah.
So you must be influenced by New England, obviously. Have you ever left the New England area to cook outside the New England area?
Not really. Yeah. I moved to the North Shore of Massachusetts.
Right.
I worked in and around Boston, but I love it here. I mean, I've staged in some restaurants in New York City, which is where you just go and like work for a couple days here and there.
Yep.
But it's, you know, this is home for me. I love it here.
Okay, so then
I've done my traveling.
Well, you did your traveling. So let's talk about going to Hell's Kitchen, because that just it doesn't really sound fun. But I mean, off to California, right, to film the show.
Yep. Yes.
And how long were you out there, and what made you think this is what I want to do, to be yelled at by, you know, Gordon Ramsay?
Well, I mean, for me, I thought that it was funny. I mean, I just got a call that said, you know, hey, these people are casting for this, and I didn't think it would actually happen.
Okay.
But I had watched that show. I've watched all of his shows. I admire him as a chef. I mean, as far as the TV chefs go, not all the chefs on TV have the actual chops that he has, and he has, you know, he's a 3 Michelin star chef. He's one of the best in the world. Yeah. So I thought, what the heck? So I tried out. My first interview turned into a second interview. Yeah. The second interview turned into them flying me out to LA to do an on-camera interview out there, and it was just really surreal. Yeah. And then I got on. So I mean, there was no turning back. So. Really, I thought the reason why I did it is because I thought I would win. Like, I've seen the show before, and no one can cook a scallop. So, like, what is wrong with these people? I got there, and then I quickly learned that the chefs that are actually there are much better than they look on TV. So, but cooking in a TV studio with a live studio audience, and you know, Gordon throwing your food back in your face every time and like yelling at you.
Usually, I'm an athlete. I mean, he yells at you more than a coach would yell at somebody. I mean, he is crazy in that respect. So, but like, you won the whole thing. You got to go to Malibu. I mean, what was the experience? And then did you learn? Because I mean, I feel like that's what you just said, like that you went down in New York City and you worked for a couple of days with other chefs. Do you still get to steal from being on that TV show, like different experiences and learn from others? Is that what chefs do, like kind of steal ideas, or how is that
I wouldn't
work?
call it stealing.
Okay, well.
Borrowing maybe, and making your own. I mean, I mean, this day and age, it's like everything's been done before. Okay. So there's very few chefs in the world who are really doing anything very new and very unique.
Yep.
But we all do get to put our own spin on things.
Right.
And I think every menu I put out is a culmination of life experiences, cooking skill, and an expression of like, you know, time and place.
Right.
And so it's local ingredients, it's where you are, it's cooking traditions locally. So everything I've done is always,
Right.
you know, I learned something from everything,
Right.
I would say.
Did you learn anything from the Chelmsford High School cafeteria? Anything there?
My favorite thing there, I do recall I would skip the hotline and I would go to the snack bar, and I think I ate at least one peanut butter and fluff sandwich a day there. I mean, I'm still a sugar junkie, so.
Okay, good. Me too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was my favorite food there. Nothing else is you know, jogging my memory at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything bad, so that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So from Gordon Ramsay to beat Bobby Flay, now down to New York City, is that a same thing, kind of a tryout thing? How does that
Yeah, that
come
was
to be?
It was a couple interviews on we just did some Skype interviews, and Bobby Flay was a much different show.
Yeah.
And it's less of a time commitment, and it's, you know, you go to New York for a couple days, and the production is more realistic. It's not so edited. It's not really about the drama and fights and stuff like that. So that was really just to go there and cook. Unfortunately, I didn't get all of my ingredients on the plate in the first round. I think I'm a terrible cook on TV, but, but I really am. I'm much better in real life, but
I mean, it is the bright lights and the time factor, right? I mean,
it's tough. Yeah.
And do they tell you in 20 minutes, like, or is it when he says, "Hey, this is your ingredient," like, or
no, it's real.
Yeah.
It's real.
So
I was very surprised when I did cooking on TV, because I've always watched these shows and I'm like, they must tell them what they're cooking ahead of time, and they don't.
They don't.
It's reality, like in that the time is real. The element of surprise is real, and like I have some friends who have been on Chopped, and some friends who have actually won.
Oh,
and
really?
you know, it's really tough.
Yeah.
And you can practice for it. I practiced a lot for all of these things, like having my cooks give me secret ingredients and timing me. But then once you're there, you know, there's so many factors that are out of your control.
Now you had Jet Tila, Alex Gonicelli, and Bobby Flay standing there. I mean, are they as good a chef or good of personalities as there are to like kind of have them looking at your food, or what?
Yeah, they're all really great.
Yeah.
And,
or were there certain other ones that you would have rather had as judges?
No. I mean, I was really excited to meet Alex. I've had a crush on her for a long time, so.
Okay.
She's great.
I think she said you were too young, though, for her.
I disagree,
Oh, okay.
Alex, but.
And what did your wife think of that comment?
It's all in good fun.
It's all in good fun.
Yeah. She doesn't blame me. She's a great chef.
So bring it back here, though. I mean, is it nice to be back home, or always? You're pretty close to Chelmsford now. You've moved.
Yes.
You've moved back, and you're living in Chelmsford.
Yeah, I am.
Is it just a comfort level, though? And now, I feel like you're an artist as a chef, right? And displaying it. So you're going to be all the time with Chelmsford people here and those kind of things.
Yeah, it's been nice.
Yeah.
So I moved back to Chelmsford a couple of years ago, about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was just my wife and I were looking to be in close proximity to our extended families.
Yep.
She has family in Littleton. I have family in Tingsboro now.
Yeah.
And of course the school system.
Right.
And you know,
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's like when you leave high school, you're like, oh, I'm all done with this. I'm never coming back. And then 15, 20 years later, it's like, oh, this is actually a really nice town.
And you're really having an influence, right? I mean, you're working down at the mill too, or helping out.
Yeah, I'm also a consulting chef at Mill Number 5 in Lowell.
Okay.
So I had been working in Boston, and then it just, you know, the Boston rat race was just getting a little tired.
Okay.
So I'm happy to be close to home.
Yeah.
And this is a great place to work at too. This is a great company. All of these people that work here are great. So I'm consulting chef at Mill Number 5,
Yep.
which is this really fun collaborative of small shops and small business owners, and they have a cafe there. So I do the menus for the cafe, Coffee and Cotton, and they do all sorts of food-related events. There's a farmer's market every Sunday, so that's a really awesome place. So that was my first foray into doing stuff locally.
Yeah.
And then Gibbet Hill ended up looking for a chef, a few months ago, and I knew about this restaurant.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of their restaurant group. They're highly regarded, and so I tried out for this job. And
what? You try out?
Yeah, I mean the interview process for a chef is a little different.
Yeah,
so
what is that? I mean,
there's the send your resume, and then there's a phone interview, and then a couple in-person interviews.
Yeah.
But eventually you do have to actually cook food because it could all be lies.
Yeah, it could
be.
So is that a surprise too, like being on Bobby Flay, like what you're going to cook, or do they say come bring whatever you want, or?
No, I got to cook food that was my own. And,
and
that's the difference between cooking in a restaurant and cooking on TV is the amount of planning.
Yep.
And I mean, planning is half of my job.
Okay.
It's.
I was thinking about. I think the ham would be really good in like a pasta.
Yeah, really good. I had somebody bar on it.
It does taste good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got to plan my menu for my interview.
For all interviews, I guess, right?
Sure.
You plan that, and is it based on what job you're going for? Like this is different food than doing like your pop-up Greek restaurant and stuff like that.
Sure, it's certainly geared for this space.
Yep.
More of a farm-to-table feel using local ingredients.
We raise pigs, and these are a couple hams. So it's the pig leg that were brined for a few days and then slow roasted.
And food that is in tune with the spirit of this restaurant. I mean, this restaurant's like, it's kind of a quintessential New England restaurant.
Right.
So you want food that is creative and modern is great. But I still want the food here to have an element of comfort food or to be recognizable to people.
Yeah.
That's, nothing too crazy, but delicious and a little modern touch.
But you're not
to
bringing
it is
peanut butter and fluff to here, right? No.
Not yet. Not yet. Maybe for staff meal.
But don't you think that does have an influence on that fact that you've grown up locally around here too?
Yeah. And honestly, maybe on the dessert menu somewhere, like a peanut butter and fluff could influence a dessert. Like, and turn that flavor profile into a new dish that, childhood memories are powerful.
Right.
And when you're cooking in a restaurant, sometimes you try to tap childhood memories.
Yeah.
So for me, like, peanut butter and fluff is where it's at. And fluff is a local ingredient. So
I bring that up because my brother moved out to Seattle, and my mom was shipping him out fluff, right? And then he had
Somerville, I think.
Yeah. And then he had kids, and then he had to have more fluff to teach his kids out there in Washington about peanut butter and fluff, which is a good thing. So that's great. So what is the hardest thing on a daily basis of being a chef?
Oh, geez. I mean, I don't know. I can't say it's hard because you're not going to be a chef if you don't love it.
Okay.
Eventually you'll give up.
Right.
because I think it's harder to be a line cook.
This is Tim Spinney. He's the executive sous chef here at Gibbet Hill Grill. He's here all the time. He does all the work. He manages the day-to-day of the restaurant. And he's another one of the faces you'll always see here when you come in for dinner. So make sure you say hi to him.
And just like working the line every day can be a real grind.
Okay.
It's hard. The hours are long. The separation from your family, like you're working all the time.
Yeah.
But if you truly love it, you love every aspect of it.
Right.
So I mean, planning, sourcing, managing staff.
Yep.
Hiring and firing, writing menus, recipe development, staff education, cost control, labor cost control, staying in touch with trends and what diners want. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Every day is a challenge. Every day is a little different.
So that makes it fun, though.
It does.
Having the challenge of every day, making it a little bit better.
I get bored easily, so being a chef has helped alleviate that boredom.
Were you in trouble in school? Were you bored in school and classes?
No comment.
I hear you there. So, I mean, what would you say, though, to, young people and the people of Chelmsford about following your passion, I guess, is kind of what you've done, right?
For
is
sure.
that,
yeah.
If you were to say to a high school kid right now, like, that's unsure, what would you tell them?
It's tough. I mean, I think that if you are doing something that brings you joy, try to tune into that and try to develop that. And I say to teachers and parents, try to help kids find that, because for every kid it's different.
Right.
Not every kid is going to be, a book smart kid.
Correct.
And if their passion lies within their hands and something along those lines, then help them explore that.
Yeah.
And yes, cooking is a craft, but along with that, there's education that happens daily still. I mean, I'm a voracious reader, and I'm constantly reading cookbooks, and it's, education doesn't end. It's not over after high school, after college. It's a daily thing. So, but if you find something that you're passionate about, that you love to learn about, I think that's what's important, and that's what will help kids be successful.
Yeah. Well, I thank you very much for being on the show and inviting us here to the restaurant, and I hope all the Chelmsford residents want to come and visit you. I think this is a great place. So on behalf of Brendan and myself, Heather Lindstad, I want to say thank you for tuning in and have a great day.